Good evening and welcome to the Town Council regular meeting, July 18, 2019. Can I get a roll call?
Bennett present.
Bannon present. Grossman present.
George present.
Let me know we've established a quorum, and Councilwoman Holloway will not be with us tonight. She had something come up at the last minute. She apologizes for not being here. Can we stand for a moment of silence? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, recognition of visitors, presentations. Cape Charles Roosevelt School, restoration of this street, I do believe.
Yeah, she had other commitments.
She had another commitment, she will not be here tonight, so, item B, University of Eastern Shore, Virginia Foundation, Mr. Terry Marks.
Good evening all. My name is Terry Mallory. Sorry about the pronunciation. Thank you for letting me speak. Thank you for Larry, who's up, who really wants to get down here. Today I'm with Judy Malachy, my long-suffering wife, and a good friend, Anne Haywood and Bill Walker. So a little background. I married a librarian. She married an engineer. We've owned property on the shore for about 30 years. We've lived here for about 20 years. The first 2 or 3 years were in Willis Wharf, so we have some familiarity with your county, but we are basically northerners most of the time. So about 18 months ago, I was with a small group that was brainstorming what we could ask the governor to do for the Eastern Shore of Virginia. I came up with the idea of a 4-year university, basically as an economic, cultural, educational stimulus. So I did a little research, and I found about 24 universities in small towns across Virginia. Blacksburg would be a small town without Virginia Tech, and so on. A lot of them were religious. Then I stumbled across University of Virginia College at Wise, and I did a little research into their history. And I thought, well, if Wise County can do it, why can't we? We're a much nicer place to live. So I pursued that. I told some friends. They became enthusiastic. And throughout this whole thing, now the last 18 months, I've been kind of dragged along by the enthusiasm of others. What can we do, Terry? Well, I'm going to set up a foundation, a 501c3, a website, and so I'll need some cash. Oh, here's some cash. So they actually gave cash to Terry. Now they can give it to a foundation and officially take a tax deduction. And we have the board, bylaws, and so forth. So we took about a year to get the infrastructure together. Now we've been talking to the politicians, Rob Roxon, Linda Lewis. Mark Warner kind of ducked the question. The governor has ducked us completely. We did put together a proposal for the governor, which I'll hand out. I'll ask Libby if she would mind. Which he's so far ignored. So we're talking with his staff. We've had 2 trips. Well, we've got 1 trip to Richmond to talk to an organization called SHED, which is State Committee of Higher Education in Virginia. They basically control to a very fine degree higher education in Virginia. And on Monday we'll be talking to the Secretary of Education and his assistant for, they use the term post-secondary education in Virginia. So we're starting to do our homework, talk to people. The original feeling is we would aim for 2,000 students. They would come here, bring their tuition checks, and we'd all get rich and happy together. We certainly have the room We have the buildings. We even have a derelict hospital we might be able to use. We will need some land. People say, where would this university be? I would say, wherever somebody pledges 200 acres of land. So far, nobody has, but it turns out Accomack County has 200 acres of land lying fallow. They call it an industrial park, and it's right next to the community college. With that land, or the pledge of it, we would advertise that worldwide and try and find somebody to come here as a branch campus. So there's the options. Will it be public? Would it be funded by the Commonwealth, which is one set of rules? Would it be private? Could we get Peking University of Technology to come here with a campus, or maybe Virginia Tech? And if we can't get Virginia Tech, we would lower our standards and say maybe we could get Stanford here. Another idea has been that we would set up a hybrid university with the community college providing the first 2 years, and then we could set up a senior college, 3rd and 4th years, which we were told by SHED can be accredited as a standalone institution. And we think with the right courses and the right publicity, that would attract people from outside the Eastern Shore to the community college. And sometime in the next month, we'll meet with the new president, Jim Schaefer. We're trying to set up that thing now. So that kind of summarizes where we've been. Are there any questions I can try to answer?
Any reason why the governor is not?
Not sure. Of course, he's had some distractions this year.
That's true.
We sent him that proposal, which you have a copy of now, just before those distractions started. But so we'll keep working. We'll keep plugging away at it. It would be a nice legacy for him.
Terry, do you see that a college having a particular emphasis? I mean, is it more STEM?
STEM is fashionable.
Or is it liberal arts?
Liberal arts is tough because liberal arts colleges are failing. STEM colleges are booming. The feeling in the Commonwealth is we have enough places for our students, but when we challenge that statement, we find out there are niche topics which are not well covered, where you could set up classes in cybersecurity or something like that, which would attract folk. Another thing would be to do something in the natural sciences, which would take advantage of our 3 research stations we have on the Eastern Shore of Virginia, at Oyster, Washer Creek, and Painter. So we could leverage that a little bit. So we're thinking STEM, but really what we're looking for is a toehold, a start, a beginning. Because it would take 8 to 10 years to get to 2,000 students, at least. If you figure you can maybe add 100 a year. So it takes you 4 years to get to 500, and then you've got to keep doing that. Any others?
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate your time and attention. You have my phone number or anything else, you can contact me if I can help with the answer. Thank you.
Up next, we're recognizing a town employee celebrating a significant anniversary. Jen Lewis, been here 10 years, pretty much since she retired. She's worked hard on multiple areas of the town. It's pretty significant to see where 4th of July has come. That whole week in parade, that whole day from the time she started to where it's at now. I want to say congratulations to Jen. She's not here tonight, but I'm going to give it right to you. All right, hearing on appeal of the Historic District Review Board's decision, 235 and 239 Mason Avenue. I have Mr. Pons, come up and speak first, and then hear from the owner of the building, and then we'll hear from the Historic District Review Board's chair. Mr. Pons? Thanks, sir.
All right. So the request was received on July 8th from applicant David Gamino to appeal the Historic District Review Board's decision to deny the painting of a mural on the front facade of a commercial building at 235-239 Mason Avenue, also known as Hotel Gate Charles. Specific items from the appeal requests are as follows. 1, the sections referred to for the denial do not relate to the proposed application of a mural. 2, the guidelines are vague about murals in public art, which makes the decision at the discretion of the board on a case-by-case basis. 3, 235 Mason Avenue is a non-contributing structure. And 4, 239 Mason Avenue's facade is previously coated masonry. So the background for this, June 18th, 2019, an application was heard. At this meeting, the applicant was denied due to the proposed project not meeting the Historic District guidelines, specifically number 5 on page 48 and number 6 on page 49. Number 5 on page 48 reads as follows. Reconstruct missing elements such as cornices, transoms, and bulkheads if documentation is available. Otherwise, design new elements that respect the character, materials, and design of the building. Number 6 on page 49 reads as follows. When designing new storefronts or elements for storefronts, conform to the configuration of materials of traditional storefronts. Keep the ground levels of new retail commercial buildings at least 50% transparent to a level of 10 feet. Articulate the bays of institutional or office buildings to provide visual interest. Include doors in all storefronts to reinforce street-level vitality. Discourage mini malls with one central door to the interior unless individual storefronts also have usable entrances and display windows. Just another note, 235, 239 Mason Avenue is considered a contributing structure in the Historic District overlay per the definition for contributing structures found in section 8.38 of the zoning ordinance, and therefore is subject to review by the Historic District.
Anybody have any questions for Zach? Thank you, Mr. Pons. Camino?
First, I'd like to start off by apologizing to the Historic Review Board for my outburst at last year.
David, they can't hear you. Use the mic.
I would like to apologize to the Historic Review Board for my outburst at the last year. It was inappropriate and embarrassing. I apologize. I had a particularly difficult day getting down here from Richmond and Hampton Road. So I was back there for an hour and a half. By the time I got here, I was having my son, and I was afraid my case was on the third, and sitting there in the heat for 2 hours. It's not an excuse, it's just sort of the context of what transpired, so again, I apologize. I respect the difficulty of the job that you are asked to do on a monthly basis.
Can you speak up,
They
please?
can't hear you.
I apologize and I respect the job that you all do on a monthly basis.
Yeah, speak into the mic.
I apologize, and I do respect the difficulty of the job that you have to do on a monthly basis. I do have one question for Zach. I didn't hear you. You cited the district. Did you say 239 or 235? Because 235 is specifically noted as non-contributing in your registry.
Address it for time. You want me to address that?
Sure.
So we had a meeting with the DHR and the CLD. Her name is Aubrey Von Linder. She's a resource here on the Eastern Shore. And that was on Monday or Tuesday, I forgot what day, but sometime this week. And we discussed contributing and non-contributing structures and how that works within this district. She explained that, but she reemphasized that there's the National Historic District, National Registry of Historic Properties within Cape Charles, and there's an overlay there. But then there's a local historic district that can be more restricted, or more, the bounds of that district can exceed what the national one is. And so with that, we also discussed, the definition of contributing structures, which in our ordinance says 50 plus years. It does mention in the guidelines that if something is altered to the state that it's, altered significantly enough to where it doesn't really contribute architecturally to the district, that it doesn't necessarily say that that wouldn't be considered a contributing structure. It's just that that is something that could happen. However, I view the ordinance as stating where it does discuss contributing structures. I printed it off here. 8.3, inventory of landmarks and contributing properties established. Structures or sites designated as properties which contribute to the historic character of the town shall be known as contributing properties for the purpose of this ordinance. Structures or sites not designated as landmark or contributing properties shall be known as non-contributing properties. So it's very vague as to what a contributing property or non-contributing property is. This might be more information than you need. However, I would say that as zoning administrator, I would say that this would be a contributing property within the local ordinance, local historic district of our, because it falls under the boundaries of the historic district that we have. And so that, I guess that's what I say. That's what as the zoning administrator would say our ordinance says regarding the contributing structure.
Thank you.
And I would simply point out that it's specifically designated in the national district as non-contributing. It has been altered, as you all are aware, to the extent that it has virtually no historic elements other than the pilasters and drum to be touched. And while I respect his opinion, legally speaking, you're using a set of guidelines that are derived from the National Park Service, which is the same guidance that you use to define whether the building is contributing or non-contributing. So given the fact that you use the National Park Service guidelines, and given the fact that the guidelines in fact refer within the Historic Review Board guidelines, refer to both contributing and non-contributing structures, by Mr. Kahn's definition, there are no non-contributing structures in Cape Charles, which clearly is not the case. Any new house would be, under his definition, if it was in the historic district, contributing. So, while I respect his interpretation, I think it's erroneous. I have apologized, and I would like to read a brief statement. And the beginning of this is a bit historic, but it does bear on my point that I have made with respect to this appeal. So I would point out that in 2010, at the height of the recession, amidst all the short sales and bankruptcies and foreclosures, I bought a property on Mason Avenue that was vacant for $500,000, and I spent $2 million renovating it. And I had a vision that a modern, boutique, upscale hotel would be a vibrant addition to this community, and that it would attract people from far and wide, and that it would be an economic success. And that, in fact, has been the case. For 8 years, I've watched businesses now on Mason Avenue start up. I've watched buildings come out of the ground, and I would say humbly that I think that our 4,000 to 5,000 people, well-heeled demographics, that come here every year to our hotel, have played a large part in the revival of Mason Avenue. We've endeavored to be a good citizen. When the coffee house was going to be shut down, we put a sewer line across our property, and we gave the town an easement on our property to put a lateral in. We open our hotel lobby, even though it closed in December, we open it every December on Fridays. We're not open for business, we just open the lobby for the festive Fridays. And staff. We contribute to countless events as a sponsor. And finally, as you're all aware, we have contributed in excess of $500,000 in transient occupant taxes and real estate taxes. We have been a good citizen, and I lived in this town for 14 years and care very deeply about this town. In this context, as a business owner, someone who did own a house here for 15 years, I want to raise with you the issue of public art. And that is what we're discussing tonight, public art. Not painting a building in a historic district. Why public art? Well-done public art engages the citizens. It adds uniqueness to the community. It influences how people see and connect with the community. And of course, it engenders economic activity. What I propose for Mason Avenue, if I may, for Mason Avenue. You can see this is 239 Mason Avenue. You can see it stretches across 235 Mason Avenue. This is in our words, in our feeling, this is a homage to the Eastern Shore. It is a landscape of the seaside that we took from images of the seaside. You can see here that everything that's being painted is hardy pine. These are the doors and windows. This building is 239. This is previously painted. The storefront really down below is not being touched other than these pieces. But you can see that this is not some abstract piece of art. There is nothing offensive about this. It is, again, celebrating what we feel is the great, based on very significant experiences with our guests, the greatest attraction of the Eastern Shore, which is the natural environment all around us. It's breathtaking, it's unique, people come from across the world to see it. And this is a celebration of that. We've hired a muralist from Czechoslovakia. We're flying him here to do this. It's a significant, again, investment in the community. The response that I received from the Historic Review Board, in my opinion, was perfunctory. It appeared to me that the decision had already been made, or if it had already been made, it was made within minutes. There were statements made about the building being a contributing structure, when in fact it isn't a contributing structure. And the basis for the denial were two sections regarding storefronts. Storefronts and storefronts. Neither of these pertain to painting. They refer to the design and construction of storefronts on the commercial building. This is not, in my opinion, a record on which this certificate could be denied. There's no reference to color scheme, palette, anything. What we did do with the palette is we kept it, what we think is within the historic palette that the town has. These sections also, I might add, and in fact, the entire historic district guidelines does not pertain to public art. There is no section in the guidelines that refers to public art. And that's very important. Because if you have no guidelines for the installation of public art, how can you install public art? We'll note that a mural was, about the same time that my certificate was being denied, a mural was being painted on Mason Avenue in front of a vacant lot, which I found particularly ironic, because I'm sure that did not go through the historical review. And according to Zach, it would be a contributing structure because it's in the historic district. But if your guidelines do not have provision for public art, then from a legal standpoint, there cannot be a denial because there are no guidelines to adhere to. So this impermissibly vague set of guidelines that exists currently, which does not address public art, would be characterized as an undue restraint on my First Amendment rights, freedom of expression. In addition, the reasons cited by the Historic Review Board on the record do not support a denial of this because it makes no specific reference to this. So, what I'm asking tonight, I'm not here to say what I would like is I would like very much for the town council to come to the conclusion that public art is important. It's appropriate in the historic district. This particular piece of public art is appropriate within the historic district. In that, much like the hotel and the vision that I have for that hotel, this investment in Cape Charles will bear benefits for everyone. I hope the town council will recognize the value of public art and its appropriateness in the historic setting. We feel very strongly that it does. Thank you very much.
Anybody have any questions for I have some. I actually made a phone call from the Park Service, and it is up to the localities to dictate their own ordinances. Basically, they say it's up to the localities, specifically on this question with a whole other situation. And they basically, even though it was the Virginia rep too, they basically said there's follow your local guidelines. So there is a big picture and there's a smaller picture that we do have the ability and right to do or have our own ordinances based on starting with theirs. I said we can call them on that.
I don't have any dispute with the notion of the guidelines.
I just want to make that, so, I mean, it's not as cut and dry as you think it is. I mean, there's a lot of latitude in it. So I specifically made that call just to find out. It was a completely separate issue. It had nothing to do with you. Anybody else have any comments, questions?
David, what gave you the idea of doing the mural? Where did that come from? We are short on public art here, I'll give you that.
It's a phenomenon that's global now. In Richmond, we have street art. They have a month-long celebration where they paint buildings. It's Charleston, South Carolina, Richmond, Virginia. I mean, you go to any vibrant urban area, and they're celebrating, the arts through very approachable public art. And for Richmond, my initiative was based on the murals that you see when you drive through the historic district of Richmond on the side of every building. There's probably 100 of them now. So that was the impetus for it, and the notion to do something again to make a statement and investment that, you know, we intend on bringing this artist here, we intend on publicizing it during the shoulder season to let people, you know, up and down the East Coast know that this installation is happening in Cape Charles, Virginia. You know, we have big plans for it, basically.
I guess it's 235, the actual hotel structure. By the looks of what I see here, same row, are you painting any of the vertical brick columns?
No,
It doesn't seem like you are.
we're not.
So that building 255, we're not painting any of the existing brick.
No.
And that 239 has already been painted. And that's a contributing factor.
So, I'm talking for about 30 minutes today, and even the blocks itself, they look relatively, even the bricks itself look relatively much newer on 235 compared to 239, which is basically everything else, like the second story, it's all ready painted on 235 and 239. So.
Here's a little history on 239. That was put on the National History Registry later. Larry, you know, roughly.
The original register was 89.
So 89, that building was a brick facade. There was no roof on it, it was just a shell. And it was already painted, so that's a contributing factor. It was a vacant building that had no roof on it. Anybody remember the history? I moved here in 05. It wasn't until Patrick bought it, Patrick Cannon, and renovated it.
Anybody have any more questions?
Thank you very much for your time and attention. I appreciate it.
Yep, thank you very much. General Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Town Council. Thank you for your apology. It is accepted. It is much more intimidating to be on this side of that table than that side, so I understand. I wanted just to clear up the question of contributing. We did meet on Monday, as our town planner mentioned, with the Department of Historic Resources. We met with Aubrey Van Winderen, and the other person there was Elizabeth Hope Lickford. She is an architectural historian. She's our Eastern Regional Preservation Office representative. And although this meeting was planned a long time ago, the timing was good because we had these questions to refer to when we were asking their expertise and their advice. What they told us was that, yes, the National Register is sometimes used by local architectural review boards as their own district document. Our town, however, does not do that. We have our own ordinance, and that ordinance supersedes the National Trust ordinance. So I thought that was helpful. We also talked about contributing and non-contributing. And we were told that by virtue of being within the overlay, whether it's in the residential area or the commercial historic district, if you're in the overlay, you are contributing. This is a quote from Elizabeth. I wrote it word for word. The only time it's not contributing is, quote, if all the historical material is disintegrated and beyond repair, end quote. Another quote she said was, if there is no indication of original form and placement, end quote. So we discussed this building because we knew this was coming up. I had the question I wanted to ask, and I wanted to be prepared to answer correctly. If we made a mistake, I wanted to know that. If we were correct, I wanted to know that. And she said in our commercial district, by virtue of the fact that those buildings are contiguous, they are attached to each other, the original form of the building is still there. In her opinion, that would be contributing. To the subject of the exterior work that's being proposed, the mural, I would refer the council, thank you, Mr. Planner, for referring to some of these already. I will not be redundant. In the guidelines, it says, these are the guidelines that supersede the National Trust. If any exterior work is to be done, we refer the applicants to page 48, number 5, which says to restore as many original elements as possible. To reconstruct missing elements. This building has, you're right, some of the council people have noted that the building has been altered in recent years. But what we have learned in the research with the trust is that if you are removing or refacing a building, you have to look to what was under there originally. So you either remove what was there and go back to the original, or if you're redoing it, you need to stay consistent with guidelines on page 47, number 1 and 2. Retain all the elements, materials, and features that are original to the building. Covering up windows, cornices, decorative features, or significant portions of the wall alters the building's proportions and changes its appearance. In the opinion of the board, the significant portions of the wall being covered by a mural would alter the building's proportions and change its appearance. Page 49, number 6. When designing new storefronts or elements for storefronts, conform to the configuration and materials of traditional storefronts. And on page 46, it says, use pictorial research to find the appearance of the original building.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Can you go back to the first one you read?
Yes. Page 48, number 5. And number 4. Restore as many original elements as possible. Reconstruct missing elements. Avoid using materials and elements that are incompatible with the building or district.
So how is, if he's painting over paint, how is that the tie into this?
Having a mural on the front of a historic building in our commercial main street, which is also a designated main street, is incompatible with the building and the district.
Not designated yet.
I'm just asking, if there's paint already there, and he's painting over painting it, how does that tie into it?
The guidelines say that if the old paint needs to be replaced or redone,
Read that again?
in the guidelines, and I'll have to find that one,
Read it again.
you have to restore as many original elements as possible. If the paint is peeling, it can come off. If it's exposing the brick, it should come off. The original element should be restored.
Okay, you can continue on, but I'll say my comments from that.
Okay. Avoid using materials and elements that are incompatible with the building or the district. And to reconstruct the missing elements. The building does have missing elements. We do have pictorial data on what it looked like once upon a time. If the mural is proposed as part of maintenance for the building, then it needs to follow these guidelines. If it's public art, it's completely incongruous with the neighborhood, and anything that's done in the historic district is supposed to be congruous with the rest of the district. Thank you. Questions for me?
Yeah.
So there are sections in here into the guidelines that talk about paint. So if I go on page 52.
52, number 3 and 4.
Yeah, retain masonry features that define the overall character of the building. Discourage the use of non-historic coating on brick.
Correct.
Avoid painting unpainted brick surfaces.
Correct.
Do not paint masonry that is unpainted.
Correct.
Choose colors that fit into the taste of the building and complement the overall scheme on the street. So why hadn't you called out those particular items. in this
I
case.
didn't call out those particular items because the applicant is now saying he's not going to be painting over original brick. I really didn't want to get into whether or not he was painting original brick or not. But I will say, public art is probably needed in our town. I attended the Main Street National Conference this year, and public art was the subject of a number of the breakout sessions. We saw wonderful photos of historic towns using public art. They were very clear it's not to be on the face of your historic commercial buildings. You're using public art to enhance things that are not contributing and make them interesting spaces to visit. But yes, I do have, I didn't want to, So page 52, number 3, number 4, discourage the use of non-historic coatings on brick. Page 52, number 4, avoid painting unpainted brick surfaces.
But if they're already painted, you should remove that.
I said if it's a question of maintenance, for instance, if you look at the side of the Lemon Tree building on Strawberry, that paint is peeling. In that situation, the original brick is being revealed because of the peeling paint. In that situation, that wouldn't be able to be recoated with paint. It would need to follow the restore and repair guideline. So if he is looking to use the mural as more than public art and something as a maintenance issue, if there's a maintenance issue and the coating that's on it is no longer working, then you need to use the restore and retain guideline.
But I don't think that's the case.
No.
I suppose it's down there, and the paint on all of those, it's fine.
Right. No, but in this case, the avoid coatings on brick applies, and in this case,
It does not, it's already coated.
he's still coating brick.
Yeah, but it's already covered.
If you look on pages 47 and 48.
There's no way I could ask somebody to take perfectly good paint off of the building.
No, I'm not saying taking perfectly good paint off the building. I'm not saying that at all. However, the section for storefronts on page 47, number 2, remove any inappropriate elements, material signs, canopies that obscure original architectural elements. Covering up significant portions of the wall alters the building's proportions and changes its appearance.
Covering.
It's very clear.
Yeah, but covering isn't out, that's a pretty vague term, because covering means like basically, as they stated, with the windows, blocking the windows with plywood or whatever. I don't know if paint is considered covering. I do. I do.
Yes, I do too.
I see it. The way it's stated, the way it's stated there, covering.
I think the incongruity of it with the rest of that street is the biggest driver for me. I don't care if it's contributing or non-contributing, I think it would just be an eyesore. And I appreciate public art, but I agree with Susan that it should be somewhere where it isn't part of the main facade structure. Paint the windows of the empty storefronts, that's a good idea because it looks better. Something that you can take off later when someone buys the storefront and fixes it up. But I find this whole thing to be not necessarily a historic district issue as much as it is a visual issue for Mason Avenue.
Well, it's historic too. Look back at the guidelines, because I went through and drew my own conclusions and then went for further research. But you go back into Article 8, and it talks about ensuring that building structures, streets, etc., are altered so as to be kept architecturally compatible with the character of the general area in which they are located, and with the historic buildings and structures within the district. So, in the context of what you're saying, this is certainly going to alter that particular visual display. Now, going on, I took it one step further. I said, okay, let me just do a head check, because now we're entering public art. And what I found in just Google searching a whole bunch of different places when I just looked at historic versus murals, I came up with an abundance of cases where murals don't fit into historic districts, and if they do, they're not on the front facade. Sometimes they'll allow them on the side, maybe in the back, but I came across a number of places that just refused. Annapolis actually went to court versus public art versus historic, and the town won, the city won with the historic position. So there is a position relative to public art that perhaps doesn't fit into the historic district on the front facade as we're talking.
So I'd like to make a motion that we deny the appeal.
Motion. Second. Any more discussion?
One of the issues that spoke to me as I analyzed this was design elements on the street wall. And if we consider that the contributing, non-contributing issue is off the table, that's it, yeah, okay. Then our guidelines do, and our guidelines are referenced and incorporated by reference into this district that Paul just mentioned. Which the purpose of that to protect for these structures and this district as a whole. Okay, so if we look at the Mason Avenue section of this district as a whole, we want to look at its protection. And so to do that, I am concerned not from a public art standpoint, okay, but from a design element standpoint, that this is such a significant design element that it may be out of character for that building, to fit with that building, in my viewpoint. It is beautiful from a public art standpoint. Section, and that's maybe a convoluted way of analyzing page 48, number 5, where it says it's speaking about original or missing elements, but it says new design, new elements. So that's an element of the building that respect the character, materials, and design of that building. So I have to look at that and then put that in the context of the whole street wall. So that's how I analyze this concern.
What I found also in research is that typically you didn't have murals years ago. You didn't. What you had is signs for that particular establishment. And what you'll see historic districts allow is a refreshing of that particular sign and no more. So that was, again, just a bit of information that I picked up through research there.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Can you state the motion, please?
The motion is that we deny the appeal. Uphold the decision of the better written that way, rather than making another negative vote.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Next is public comments.
Diane Davis, 601 Jefferson Avenue, here in town, resident. Okay. I have two things I would like to mention. At this point, the library is now considered one of the public restroom facilities for the town. And I'm just concerned, and people need somewhere to go. But I think you need to keep in mind that if we're going to open it to the public, which they are definitely using at this time, normally cleaning is done every other week. We need to have someone come in and clean more often, and any of the things that they do, they come in from time to time, but we need to be set up, because the fact we have them come in, we don't want to embarrass ourselves. And I don't think that the employees should have to try to keep up the restroom facilities, flush funds from the library. You know, we have many activities that are going on there, which is great, and I'm so proud of them for that. Thank you. My next concern, the Main Street project that is going on. I was under the impression that this is done through a grant, and I understand the grant is a part of it, but the town, I understand, does put some funds in there also. So that's fine too. But what I would like for everybody to understand, that Main Street where people walk up and down is not just for one particular race. Any nationality should be able to walk up and down that street without walking from the stores being called names. And that is very disappointing to me. When I'm trying to tell people to go into Cape Charles and visit and do those type things. And the last time I said that to someone, they told me what happened to them, and they said they would never come back to Cape Charles, and that is safe. So please keep in mind that Mason Avenue is for everybody, and people who own these areas need to be aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davis.
Beth Davis?
Good evening, council members. I have to say, when comparing the denial of the mural to infringing upon First Amendment rights, it makes my little cat seem a little bit insignificant. But since at our last meeting I did state that I would endeavor to get a community meeting scheduled to address the strike that's been happening with our local residents and the cat colonies, I'm happy to report that I was able to connect with Alley Cat Allies. They are a nonprofit based out of Bethesda, the Northern Virginia area, that deals with these types of situations all over the U.S. They will be reaching out to ESSO, if they haven't already, to talk about scheduling a community meeting. They are willing to come down, organize this meeting, and find solutions, again, that are hopefully agreeable to all. They handle all of the logistics of planning and PR and outreach concerning the schedule of the community meeting. They have committed to the week of August 5th to hopefully hold that meeting. And again, just wanted to reiterate that the purpose is not backwards looking, what's happened in the past. It's not blaming, it's not name calling, it's forward thinking to find a solution to our current issue. If anybody wants to find out more about Alley Cat Allies, they have great best practice sharing on care and maintenance of cat colonies, best practices of TNR, which, again, last time I spoke, I thanked ESSO for the work that they've done, and I'm hopeful that my rallying with the community and finding a solution that potentially will work for all, we can, once and for all, live harmoniously in our community with cats. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Herb Tom?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Town Council, ladies and gentlemen. My complaint is that I'm going to forming a question. Why don't we have this? And then let you all decide why we don't have one, and if we really need
Why don't we have what?
police law.
Oh, these.
And, you know, I'm not going to argue why you need one when you all live in town the same as I do, and you should be able to come up with the answer rather than me dictate to you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tom.
L.D. Downs?
Good evening. My name is L.D. Davis. My husband and I, Robert Supa, live at 112 Peach Street. While we were relatively new to Cape Charles, having been here less than 2 years, we are here for the long haul. August 24th of 2018, we were impressed when we read via the Cape Charles Gazette that the town had taken a significant step forward and created a report of concern as part of its website. Also that August, our street sign at the corner of Peach and Randolph was hit by a vehicle. We were going to use the report of concern to notify the appropriate staff, but lo and behold, the town vehicle shows up, the workers stuck a rock in the hole next to the signpost and straightened it. While it was an unconventional fix, it worked and it lasted through most of the winter. On April 1st, I reached out to the town via report of concern and explained the history of what had happened to the sign and that it needed to be fixed. I specifically asked for an email response. Nothing happened. On May 5th, I reached out again and clearly stated it was my second request and asked for an email response. Nothing happened. On June 6th, I repeated the same drill, mentioned that it was my third request, asked for an email response, and again there was no reply. On July 7th, I explained that it was my fourth request. Again, asking for an email response, and to this day, there has been no response. 109 days passed since I first reached out to the town. If repairing the sign is a VDOT thing, if it's a county thing, or if it's a town thing, tell us. But to say nothing in 109 days is an epic failure. This piece of the business plan is not working. Property owners, business owners, town staff, vacationers, and day trippers are all customers of the town. One would realistically expect that their concerns would be responded to and fixed in a timely manner. We truly, my husband and I, have no idea what department is responsible for this unconscionable failure. We don't know who the bus is running over, but after 109 days, we feel we've earned the right to say we don't really care. We are concerned that property and business owners have become frustrated with this broken business plan. We are equally concerned that the guests of Cape Charles may have experienced the same problem and have walked away, never to return. Mr. Mayor, council members, staff, after 109 days, we ask for two things. First, find the appropriate fix for report of concern. And secondly, please fix this street sign at Peach and Randolph. Thank you for your time and your service.
Thank you, David. Who we got next?
Okay, there.
I'm Hank Mayer, and I'm treasurer of Citizens for Central Park. If Bill were here this evening, he'd tell you that our summer festival concerts are going great, and they're looking forward with other opportunities to work with Cape Charles Main Street for promoting use of the park. But I'm here this evening to talk to you about the CCP launching a new Central Park improvement plan that begins with the planting of 25 additional trees. Some of them will be used to absorb the stormwater that flows into the swales. Others are going to provide shade through picnic tables and benches that will be installed in the inner area of the park. In addition, we'll be seeking to add additional pieces of equipment in the newly configured and enlarged children's playground, as well as shade over some of the existing units. We're hoping to add new adult-oriented activities such as the shuffleboard court, the bocce ball court, cornhole game, along with picnic tables, benches, and shade trees in the southeast corner of the park. At the western end of the park, we'd like to rework the area around the fountain to include a splash pad to help cool off everyone's feet on these very hot summer days. And we're hoping that Main Street and the town will construct a new restroom nearby to serve town visitors year-round. Lastly, we'd like to work with the town to extend the turf pave service that is going to be installed at the park's southern node under phase 3 of the trail program by replacing most of the mound and median on the short stretch of Peach Street to Tazewell Avenue, so as to provide better and safer vehicle access to the park. We believe also that incorporation of a stormwater collector with a connection to the park's swale system could also reduce some of the flooding in that area. We've been involved with the town manager, Dave Fawber, Jim Lewis, and Zach Pons in developing this plan. We'd like an opportunity to discuss these improvements and related funding needs with the council at a work meeting in August. I've given Libby a digital version of that so that she can distribute it to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening. Glad to see we have a microphone tonight. I have two issues that I'm interested in. One is the last time I was here, there was a letter regarding the condition of the beach. And Larry mentioned that he had only heard from one person that the beach was dirty and under the impression, well, you don't hear anything, obviously you're not going to have any action. I can say, I rent one unit in my house. I have heard from every single person that's been here this summer. A, the beach is dirtier than it's ever been before, and B, what's going on with the access thing in Haswell and on Randolph? Why are they sanding it up? They're still sanding it up. It's past 4th of July. In any case, these are some issues that really need to be confronted because the beaches are very fun. Second issue is what I talked about last time, the proposed idea of a dog leash law. Since the last meeting, I've been collecting signatures. We got several hundred signatures against the law. I talked to people, and whether they're visitors or residents, there are, of course, some people in favor, people who are afraid of dogs. I understand that they are afraid. But what we have is, time and time again, I hear from the visitors, I come to Cape Charles because it's a dog-friendly town. That's why I visit the town. On 3 separate occasions, I talked to people who recently purchased houses. They said, it's a dog-friendly town, that's why I bought here. So you're talking about an issue that is very divisive. I'd love to know who's going to enforce it if you have it? Are we going to send our police around the town chasing people who have their dogs off the leash? If so, do we have so much money for police that we're going to hire extra officers to chase people? Or are we going to hire a dog catcher? A law of this sort is open for use as revenge tactic against people who happen to have a dog that's walking. It's very, very likely to be enforced arbitrarily. And arbitrary enforcement is one of the worst forms of things that could happen. confidence in both the police and the town involved. And once again, there's the irony that a couple of years ago we passed a non-tethering act. We're not allowed to tie our dogs up in our yards, but now we're talking about forcing people to walk around with their dog tied up all the time. We are not yet finished with collecting, pardon? I didn't hear.
At your time.
Well, I'd like just to say, we heard people here speaking for a half an hour regarding other matters.
Have a recognition, that was a whole different situation.
Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
That's the last one I signed up, but I do have 3 emails that were submitted. First one is from Jake McKinley, 526 Caswell Avenue, regarding the proposed leash law. So I would like to provide my input to the discussion of a possible leash law in the town of Cape Charles. I'm a permanent resident in town and own a dog whom I walk regularly on leash through the historic district and beyond. Having never experienced any problem in the 4 summers I have lived here, other than running across messes that haven't been picked up, I recently signed a petition giving my support to leaving the lack of a leash law as is. It is unfortunate that the irresponsibility of a few dictate the laws that affect the lives of many responsible citizens. However, it does seem that there have recently been isolated instances of unleashed dogs allowed to roam loose, free to harass walkers and other dogs on leash. And it is understandable that these victims feel unsafe on our sidewalks when confronted by an unpredictable dog. Unfortunately, considering these recent reports, which we must assume are accurate, it is difficult to argue against enacting the leash law in the more heavily populated parts of our community. I do, however, urge caution in the breadth of this law, keeping in mind that most dogs in town are well controlled by their owners, whether on leash or under voice command, and that the instances of dog aggression are very few and far between. Additionally, if the town does enact the leash law, I believe it should continue to allow unleashed dogs under voice command to the beach during designated summer hours and off-season months. The town should also put forth an earnest effort to establish and maintain a place where dogs can run freely and safely. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on this issue. From Joanne Bowett from Strawberry Street. So I understand the town council will be voting on implementing the leash law throughout the town, including the beach. I fully support a leash law in Cape Charles. Reasons cited in previous letter to the town council. A leash law makes it safe and enjoyable for all to enjoy the town and beach. A leash law also adds protection to the beach, dunes, and personal property. I also support a dog park for those dog owners to have an option to exercise their dogs without leash, if that is what they choose to do. I also support extending the beach hours for dogs. If there is a leash law implemented and enforced, the current hours are after 9 p.m. and before 9 a.m. My suggestion is leashed dogs would be allowed on the beach up to 7 p.m. and before 9 a.m. Please vote for a leash law allowing all to enjoy and feel safe. The current under owner's control is subjective and can't be enforced. Thank you for your consideration and attention to this matter. This one is from Lori Smith. It says, good morning. It is my hope that the leash law will be put into place following this evening's meeting so that all pets and pet owners can feel safer when walking their dogs. As more people move to and visit our town, this law is now needed. For those that want to let their dogs run free and get exercise, having a dog park seems to be the best solution for all. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. That's our public comment period. Next is approval of the consent agenda. Anybody have any questions or anything? Go back.
One, pick up on our water, wastewater. Now it's along the other way. Good, sure.
Could we do items from the consent agenda that we like
the department reports on utilities, I guess, for wastewater, wastewater.
Yes, please. I have a question on the treasurer's report and on the public utilities, public works, which are similar, and a small little recreation.
The historic district certificate of appropriateness process changes that are attached to the state report.
Okay. I did not get all of that.
I'll make then a motion to approve the consent agenda with the items removed for question, and being regarding harbor rezoning, public utilities, public works, treasurer's report, and recreation. Questions of that?
Maybe historic certificate of appropriateness process changes.
Second.
All in favor? So we just,
Approved everything else, but just to pull those out as a question.
All right, let's start with the easier one. The water, wastewater, if you look at the quantities this month, would swung to the positive, where in the past with water, wastewater was delta 2.6 million or so gallons. Now, this month in June, we have more water than wastewater to the tune of 800,000. Something just doesn't make sense, whether someone's recalibrated or, I don't know.
that's what it should be.
Well, why the swing foot, what had changed to that significant degree?
It's a tremendous change.
Yeah.
So it's either the INI is really bad, or the record keeping is suspect. Mike?
Maybe a combination of both. It has been drier.
Right.
That affects the I&I, which goes to the wastewater plant. Also, typically, you would produce more water and it goes to the wastewater. If you have a closed I&I system, but you still wouldn't be balanced because you're going to have potable water line loss. We don't know what our potable water line loss will become. So that could
All right, so I'm
balance on the water side.
I just leave it as a follow-up question that somebody can give out of the department here as to,
Did they change something?
yeah, is there something that it would explain? And it could be as simple as well. I just would like something that for our sake.
And for what it's worth, the I&I study, Public Utilities Director and I discussed this over in September.
Okay. That's with the new equipment?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I had another one on the next steps of the harbor rezoning. Now, we had a subcommittee that put together a report attached to the staff report. What I'd like to know is what is the next step for this discussion? There's not going to be any discussion at the council level prior to planning. Well, that's all my question.
Yeah,
Yes or no?
it should be the next step.
Okay. And then the next one I had was with regards to the process changes for the certificate of appropriateness. Again, that's attached to staff report. The question is there any council discussion, or are you expecting that again also to go to the planning commission for the next step?
So we had public hearings for both those items on August 2nd for planning commission to discuss and make recommendations to you guys.
Well, August 2nd, though.
August 6th, sorry, 6th.
Or the 6th.
Yeah, that's
That talks two process changes. One to expand the board, and the other one to have this town council approve guidelines. We have other process changes that we're proposing. What are the next steps for those?
So the first step would be to get it to you guys just to review in that staff report. If you didn't have anything specifically to talk about, to pull out. then it would be to make those, if they require ordinance update changes, for me to update the ordinance and bring it forward.
So, okay, just to be clear, are you looking for comments from town council members that hadn't participated in that document back to you through that staff report?
I am looking, no, I was looking to put that, to get you guys to understand that this is happening, this is going forward to planning commission, so that if anything pops out to you guys that you want to pull and discuss prior to it going to planning commission, this would be the time. So it was more of just an informational thing for you guys, and then if nothing.
Okay, so all I'll say is we participated, Cedar and I. So if you have other comments or questions on what we're proposing, by the time it comes around as a final public comment, public meetings, and all that stuff, and you give the thumbs down, now's the time to give your input to it. That's all I'm offering. All right? That's all I'm saying.
I'm equally so. I had the same question with regard to public utilities, because it was such a big swing, and I know Councilman has been looking at that, pointing that out every month to us, and that was huge. So I was just wondering about that. On the treasurer's report, I've been looking at the harbor this month. I wanted to follow up about that because we have heard that presentation about the potential for looking at harbor privatized services or something that's more. I just wanted to bring that back up. Not that we do anything with it tonight, but just are we going to do anything with it? Let's hear something one way or the other. As you guys can see, we did have a good run at the harbor, $25,000 to be good, notwithstanding any capital projects or anything like that, just an operating project. So that's a good thing. Point that out. But would like to follow up on that about any plans that we want to make. Once the summer will be gone, we'll be in the fall next year before you know it, so think about that. Also, on the treasurer's report, I wanted to ask that, what was the status on the capital projects? The leak detection equipment that's pending for purchase?
What are you referring to as PPI?
I thought that was a project, so you get the equipment.
No, that's the equipment.
Yeah, the equipment expenditures, all right. Okay. And I'm certainly glad to see that our real estate collections, 97%, that's good. And I compliment them and the group for their good work on collections. Still a little short, only 90% on personal property, but that's always a real part of it.
This year,
I'm sorry.
personal property, did they go up this year?
I don't know.
I think they did. It's a month later than counting, it's 2 months later.
Okay, and I had a question on the 3-year revenue comparison. Where is it? I'm not sure if you remember, but you might just find out. The communications tax is down the next day, previous 2 years.
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi? Yeah, I don't know.
So many people have been
Yeah, I don't know where all that's. And my last question, if I can find this fairly quickly, I'm not sure I was got the handle up here, is the recreation report. And it looked like the same comment was made about the staff at the back in the library. And I wondered if that was an error or just a cut and paste.
No, I believe that was in the weekly report. That's the same comment that was in the weekly report.
I thought it was last month also. Last month's report about.
Well,
They did it, and it had a count and everything, so have I just seen it before?
I think you've seen it in the weekly report.
Okay.
Because that comment was in the weekly report that went out in June.
Okay, maybe that's where I saw
Because
it.
the July, anything that says the July 2019 council report, obviously, is going to run the
that.
No, but you've seen that statement before.
Okay, I was just, thought I was hallucinating. Okay. Thank you, that's all.
Approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
On favor? Opposed? Unfinished business, none. New business, police law.
Mr. Chairman, to council, this is the updated language for the proposed leash law. This is an informational item tonight. Staff is recommending that pending further discussion, the text amendment be put up for a vote at the August 1st.
Can't hear you.
Speak up.
This is a staff report, informational item on the status of the leash law that was brought to council last month as an informational item for a text amendment. The item is not proposed to be voted on tonight. It's proposed to be voted on August the 1st. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, thank you for pointing it out. The background includes the language from the current ordinance as well as the state code. And the state code allows for a leash law, physical restraint on domestic animals. The purpose for the leash law is public safety, which is really an essential function of government. If we don't do public safety, and if we don't do public health, we're not doing government. So it's not a tourism-related item, and it's not to increase people to be able to take their dogs to public facilities. It's public safety. There have been documented cases of animals, domestic animals, not strays, confronting other people, confronting other animals, all summer long. The current under control is arbitrary and capricious. I don't know what under control actually means. Perhaps others can clarify that. And it's difficult for the police, the chief is here to answer that question if there are any. Also, what staff is proposing is that a leash law be in effect. The leash constitutes a physical restraint of a minimum of 6 feet to a maximum of 20 feet. We recognize that people have retractable leashes, and that the time period for people to be able to have their dogs on the beach be extended from Tuesday after Labor Day to April 30th instead of the current March 31st. Also, one of the original proposals from the old dog committee was to extend the hours. So staff is also recommending that. So, if it pleases the mayor, I'll read the proposed language into the public record. Thank you. Section 50-191, animals on beach and other public places. A, animals prohibited during certain period. It shall be unlawful for any person owning, having control of any domestic canine or other animal to permit such domestic canine or other animal to be on the public sand beach, the boardwalk, or the racing area west of the boardwalk during such period from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. between May 1 and Labor Day of each year, such period hereinafter referred to as the season. A2, it shall be unlawful for any person who owns or has control over any domestic canine or other animal to permit such domestic canine or other animal to run at large at any time. For purposes of this section, an animal shall be deemed to run at large while roaming, running, or self-hunting off the property of its owner or custodian and not kept on a leash or other physical restraint for immediate control. A leash or other physical restraint is understood to be no less than 6 feet, no more than 20 feet in length. Recommendation pending further council discussion and direction. Staff recommends moving the proposed text amendment to vote as an action item for August 1st, 2019 special meeting.
Question. When we talk boardwalk, we talking the pier?
No, we're talking the sidewalk. We're talking the concrete boardwalk.
Okay, so pier is okay for a dog to walk on?
The current language only addresses sand beach, boardwalk, and the grassy area.
That's all right. I wanted to make sure pier because, you know, fishing there and I see a ton of people walk at night. And you bring your dogs. on leashes in most cases. And I'd be hard pressed to all of a sudden say, not allowed. Making it more difficult to control. So that's why I wanted to make the clarification that the boardwalk is not to the The other question I would have or comment is that dogs on the beach between the 9 p.m. and 10 a.m. next morning, I prefer some leniency there with regards to allowing them to run, not being on the leash.
Oh, that's when they're allowed to be off the leash.
Okay.
That's not what that said.
That's
not what that said.
Yeah, I didn't read it that way.
Yeah.
All right.
It included everything.
Yeah, so I'm advocating allowing the running on the beach in those permitted hours.
I agree with you.
Okay. Okay, that was my comments there. The other case is enforcement. Once we put this into play, enforcement is going to be interesting.
So, getting back to that point, it says, it's unlawful for any person owning, having control of any domestic canine or any other animal, permit such a domestic canine or other animal to be on the public sand beach, boardwalk, or the grassy area west of the boardwalk during the period 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. So during the day, it's unlawful.
Correct. Just being on the beach, yes.
From 9 p.m. to 10 a.m., they can be on the beach and they can be unleashed.
Well, now be careful, because now I go to the second part and it says all need to be leashed. So that's the way I'm reading it. I could be reading it wrong. But the first one deals with allowing dogs between a period of time. The second one says the leash needs to be applied at all times. And that's where I'm looking for flexibility to allow on the beach between those particular hours.
I agree that clarification would be helpful. It certainly has been the practice the entire time that I can remember that folks with animals can have them unleashed on the beach during the hours. Because this, right now, it's between 9 and 9, April 1, and Labor Day. And I think that's, the chief is shaking his head that that's been the interpretation. But I think it's a very important point if we're going to tighten up on leash law on the other end, that it be clear that they are laws. That's a good idea. We would do that. I would be a more strong proponent for also no dogs on the fishing pier. It's a very tight space out there, so we should consider that. Contrary to.
Yeah, it's contrary to what I'm saying.
I just want to say,
With the increase in the shoulder seasons in town, I don't see a need to change the time from April to May, or from May to April, April to May, or from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.
I actually think it should be earlier, and then you have time to go out there and light out, instead of in the middle, when it's dark. That's just my opinion, man. I've had dogs my whole life. You got to be given them the space to run. Who's on the beach at between 7 and 9 o'clock?
Quite a few people.
Yeah, there's a lot of people walking at 7 o'clock.
Oh, I mean, the watch the sunset up here.
Yeah.
And then the evening time, but the morning time too.
Be section off an area, who would have thought about that? North end of the beach?
I guess for me, I'm good with the new times. Good with the new dates. But I would like to see we have a hard leash law. Now, who's got control of this dog? What's the difference from walking across the grass and walking across the park or walking down on the beach and just got him on a hard leash? I mean, if we just say hard leash from 8 a.m. or 10 a.m. to 9 a.m. or whatever, and take him down and leash with. They've got control of the dog and they've got him on a leash. What does it matter if it's on the beach or not?
Well, you're going to make an exception for certain areas.
Well, this past Sunday, as an example of that, on Sunday afternoon, on the area behind the love sign where I was at the beach, there were 3 folks within a 2-hour period that had dogs there. all on leashes, and all in the water. Okay? Two were lab kind of dogs, one was a German Shepherd like dog. Okay? And they had total control of their dogs. There was no incidents associated with them at all. They cleaned up after the dogs, there was no problem whatsoever. But they did bark, there were a few kids down there, besides people that had dogs. So I think that's the kind of thing we've got to be really clear about. We would need no dogs, on a leash, not on a leash, okay, at the beach areas, including that little area, because that's really easy to get to. You know, just walk right over it.
Parking screening kids.
I'm not afraid of a screaming kid.
Trying to listen to a dog bark.
I wasn't afraid very much.
I just think people have control of the dog standard.
Can't hear you, Smitty.
I was talking to her.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If we're gonna have a hard leash law, I don't feel like, it's a big deal for somebody to walk with a dog down the beach on a leash. Take a dog to the beach, if that dog's under the owner's control. As long as they clean up and do everything else. I think the whole reason why we did it for people with dogs, in my mind, somewhere around when that law was actually, ordinance was actually written, in my mind, under owner's control was the reason why the hours were put in place in the first place. The dogs were just went down and under owner's control and they were trying to chase them.
So you're proposing just sticking with number 2 and eliminating one, making one altogether? Is that what you're saying?
That's my opinion.
Okay.
Do you need a motion for us?
Mr. Mayor.
No motion. It's just comment.
Do you need a motion to move forward with this being on our agenda, or we're just moving it
It's
on?
already going to be on the
Okay,
agenda.
all right.
But we've got a lot of comments, so I'm not sure we're going with all the comments. Because I agree with Steve, I don't think it should be a hearing.
Right. It's one of the 5 of them here. Do not agree that dogs should go on the field. Just get a consensus. There's 2 of them. Is that it? Or agree that dogs should not go.
Are you guys gonna get into negative?
Yeah.
There's so many things in negative. I would ask for you all to consider an amendment to this proposal from staff that would not allow dogs on the field.
Same as
Same as the other.
paragraph, just add that to
In
paragraph.
paragraph 1, yes, sir. I'm not asking for a vote or anything. You're asking for like a strong vote. Maybe.
Okay, so I don't agree with that.
They got to be agreed, 2 of them to.
Okay, we might have a vote.
Hours.
Isn't there a frolic time in the morning, 9 o'clock, to go into the beach for the dogs to run free?
Before now.
Before 9.
It's the whole beach before.
Well, it's
They similar to the north end, I believe.
It's proposing 10. Correct.
I don't see a reason to change this.
Be nice to have it so nice and daylight. That's good.
Let's get some more time.
Because you all are the reason for the heart control. So I just, you want to explain this, just 2 things about it.
Well, there's got to be an exception, just to have the door of the police, there's got to be an exception for that at night. unless you're proposing a harbor, so we'll have a comment, usually an exception between regarding the beach during a specific hour.
Yeah, that's
So they were not.
That's what I'm saying too.
There's
Maybe easy to write in, the times and places they can be unleashed.
The reason, I think the reason, I was bringing that back, during the hours, that we're not supposed to go on the beach to allow actually to go on the beach. The police can get called down there 900 times, dogs on the beach, dogs on the beach. So if it's on a leash, it's on a beach, now they'll just get called, hey, we got a dog off leash on the beach.
Well, that's what I said, there's an exception in there for that.
Yeah.
Dogs are allowed on the beach now between 9 a.m. and midnight. I don't see a reason to add let them on the beach during those hours. They want to change it to 10, that's a
Well,
bonus.
first of all, it's crazy to do it, and then really
Get a case to cop. But I'm just like, council, you want to just table this?
No. Well, we're providing comments, and then we're going to get a recommendation for a revised language, I assume, right there.
That's how it works.
Any more discussion?
Could I just make a suggestion that maybe, ask Larry to have a discussion with some of the people involved to try to iron things out, because you have something there, taxi.
Yeah, we took a lot of some of the stuff from here's going to listen to, he'll listen to what you said earlier, and listen to all of citizens' comments and stuff. That was their comments now.
I just have one thought there about that. I think I spoke to this before. When we're going to amend ordinances, that I would prefer that, not mandatory of course, but I would prefer that we do that at our regular monthly meeting rather than at the off meeting, because more people have an opportunity to be here and speak their opinions about it and that sort of thing. So I wouldn't have any objection if staff worked on it, adopting the language, and we advanced it to our regular August meeting.
I mean, we could see the revised language of the one August meeting as another information.
And people would have an opportunity then to speak to that with a little extra time.
Also, if you guys have any comments to make during public, you got 3 minutes to talk before the meeting during public hearing. If you want your voice, sign up and say something. Just so you know, send letters in, that's great, make sure they come to the council, the mayor, or I haven't read it in the minutes, but definitely, what's your opinion? You got 3 minutes if you can. That way, we get a lot of letters, and we see them when we read them, so we know there's a fair amount of you that have sent them in. So I urge you to do it.
Okay. Moving on. Water and wastewater system potential expansion.
This is, again, an This is also an informational item on the current language in the comprehensive plan relevant to the expansion of water and sewer services around town. Now, it's put out as an informational item and really as a marker to gauge some direction about the treatment of water and sewer utilities as we go into the new comprehensive plan update. This is the language that we've got. It speaks to several things, including the idea that water and wastewater are necessary for economic vitality and for as core assets. It speaks to the partnerships, again, mostly past tense, that existed between the town and other public agencies, specifically the Eastern Virginia PSA, which is no longer the item specifics. The current comprehensive plan addresses water and sewer facilities and systems throughout the document. Items cited, particular section on public services and programs, Public services and facilities supporting growth in town is a major concern for all present and potential citizens. Newcomers, businesses, and visitors alike have an expectation that the town has in place all required facilities and services to accommodate. The comprehensive plan serves to guide continued improvement in the various systems and put in new programs to achieve a greater level of comfort and convenience. That's really one of the specific areas where preparation of the comprehensive plan could probably use some sharpening or focusing. Should consideration of water and wastewater system expansion be advanced, as addressed in the comprehensive plan, associated expenses and costs associated with the expansion needs to be put in balance against the potential costs for maintaining the existing system and facilities. So, sort of a capital project approach in the comprehensive plan, it needs to be a marker of X expenditures on upgrades, X expenditures on maintenance to what we've already got. Again, this is by way of an informational item where staff would be looking for some further discussion and direction.
So, in looking at this, I would say that looking at the past plan, I found very little data, if any, supporting any projection on expansion of our facilities. And I'm looking for the next comp plan to really dig into what do we have relative to excess data, doing this I&I issue, and giving the growth. Right now, our comp plan doesn't go out into project populations and needs within the town. And the next comp plan has got to do that, and this is one of the factors that will fall out of it. So I'm looking for more quantitative analysis on needs when we get into the comp plan this next go around.
And it's happening because we have the two major large areas that have not been developed. One's not sold yet, the other one's basically out there where the tech wells are. And they've got major housing on it right now, and it's not going to be tied yet to the solutions.
Right. So comp plan is supposed to actually take a look at a complete build out of your town and then find out where I'm short on facilities, staffing, or what have you. And our current plan does not have that, and I'm looking to make sure that the next one does in order to allow a timeline. Do I have to worry about this next year? Are we talking 5 years, 10 years? What is the projection?
So, and Bob, you can chime in, I think. Years past, we did exactly that. We figured every buildable lot in town.
Okay.
We gave provisions for the railroad property, provisions for all the undeveloped harbor property, all of the property in town, and then we tried to forecast growth.
Yeah.
That's impossible. But I think for the wastewater plant in particular, there are triggers that when you reach a certain capacity, then you need to start doing things, and maybe those triggers need to be included in the plan. I think,
Yes, may I approach? Some of the triggers are changing.
No, I agree, but it's a projection. You can have high growth, low growth.
And every area of growth will change, because most of it's based on over there, most of it's happening over here.
You're all saying the right thing, but you're saying different things. Steve is absolutely correct. There were projections done 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And in fact, we have updated those projections. The nature of what is developable, this word, has changed quite a bit. You remember the Tabby property, very dense development there, now much less dense. The railroad property was available for development at the time, and now it is. The expansion of the yacht center is much less dense than what had been planned. In any case, those projections have been updated, and they are available to feed into the comprehensive plan. They, though, affect the need for expansion of processing capacity at the two plants, the water plant and the wastewater plant. That is one element. And there are triggers built in. The state recommends a big trigger of 80% capacity. Start planning for expansion. But that's one part of the equation. The other part of the equation is, I think, what Andy mentioned. That does not address the collection system or distribution systems. And that depends on the area. So if you're in an area like the PUD, like the Bay Creek PUD, that distribution system and collection system is the responsibility of the developer. Within that development, we have many areas in town that aren't one big comprehensive development. Out on Old Cape Charles Road, where they have different pockets of development. It's unrealistic to expect the developer of 10 houses, 20 houses, to run a sewer pipe per mile. And he has really no responsibility to do that in our ordinances. The railroad property is a whole different geographic area, and then maybe, but it's closer to existing facilities. And the developer of subdivisions within that could be expected to look like that. So it's very circumstantial, but there are planning processes in place. And there are, in fact, provisions in our ordinances that govern it.
Okay, well, I'm hoping some of that material that gets reflected in the comp plan, which it is not right now.
It is not.
Correct. And Larry, I think the other thing is the regionalization thing, I don't think should go away from the comp plan. I mean, HRSD is now working up the shore. Anybody that doesn't know HRSD, Hampton Road Sanitation District, runs most of the sanitation across the bay, and now they're working up the shore, that's more and beyond there. So I think the future is, there's got to be some regionalization in the future. And I think we need to keep it in the comp plan, at least as a marker, that we're not opposed to that.
Absolutely. I was going to mention that too, support that. And I was amazed to hear that HRSD, there as far as Westmoreland County, West Point, out of Surrey, well, out to the shore. So we think about being a part of regionalization in some way, somehow, some way, I'm not sure exactly.
I would recommend keeping it. In fact, the problem, dilemma now with development out on Old Cape Charles Road would not have been the dilemma had the PSA put the line in coming down Old Cape Charles Road. It would have been in the ground and it would have hooked up to it. So, what do you have for this?
Anybody have any more questions? Thanks, sir. Timelines or comments?
I have a few tonight I'd like to read to the record. The first is, we had the OSHA visit yesterday, Wednesday, 17th of July. Two OSHA inspectors went to the public works shed yesterday, late afternoon from a scheduled inspection. While our shortcomings are minor and relatively easy to fix, at this point I don't know if the town will be fined, required to develop a formal mitigation plan or both. Here's a list of our shortcomings. The vehicle lift does not have an annual inspection. 2, the kill switch on the riding mower seat does not cut off when the rider gets off the seat. In plain English, that means the blade still stinks should the rider fall off the mower and wind up under it. 3, certain cleaning solvents and other shop chemicals are frequently distributed into smaller containers from the larger containers that they're shipped in. The larger containers have labels stating the storage and handling information. That's called material safety data sheet. But the smaller transfer bottles do not have it. So the related safety information is not present on all the containers containing potentially harmful chemicals. Here's what we know after yesterday's visit. The mower is under lock and key and no one is riding it until the kill switch is repaired. 2, The smaller bottles are labeled with the correct material safety data sheet, which you can get offline, online. And the vehicle lift is not being used until a hydraulics inspector can inspect it. So this isn't a whole, your sort of typical elevator inspector. This is somebody who actually knows their way around automotive lifts and hydraulics involved for that. So I put in a call to the Virginia Department of Labor office in Norfolk this afternoon to discuss the matter, and the town should be receiving a preliminary report via email by close of business tomorrow, Friday the 19th. When that's received, the report will be attached to next week's weekly staff activity report as part of the public record. From our conversation, again, these are not significant items, but they're items that we can pay attention to. We also have your typical sorts of things you're going to find, failing extension course, rate extension course.
Did we respond back with what immediate actions we've taken?
Well, we're waiting for the report. Again, from Wednesday afternoon to Friday, guys immediately, our staff immediately did these things.
Right. It's great. Sometimes if you get quickly on the record, it's better for you.
This is actually the way to deal with violations. You contact the regulatory authority immediately and talk to them about what it is you're doing and what it is they're referring to. So as soon as that email report comes in, should be closed business tomorrow. We'll see it on the weekly report. Okay, the working meeting with the Virginia Department of Historic Resources staff on Monday, that was Monday, July 15th. On Monday, July 15th, town staff, Councilwoman Byrd, Chair and Vice Chair of the Historic District Review Board, met with Elizabeth Lipford and Audrey Von Lindern. Audrey Von Lindern is a certified local government coordinator for the Commonwealth of Virginia, to discuss some issues related to historic district guidelines, among other things. The meeting was educational and encouraging. Overall, the town is doing a number of things well, and the guidelines have strong points. Obviously, they have weak points, but they do have strong points, as was discussed. As I did in January of this year, I asked Ms. Von Lindern about the recurring rumor that the town is in danger of losing its historic district designation. As she stated in January, she reconfirmed that the town is in no such danger, never has been, and continues to have an effective working relationship with the Virginia Department of Historic Resources. To that end, the town received an email last week of a grant award of approximately $5,560 for Historic District Review Board Professional Development via a program with the National Land Preservation Commissions. Third, 4th of July. Yes, it was crowded. Yes, parking was difficult after a certain time of morning. Yes, the law was enforced, and we have messages and emails from people ticketed for a variety of offenses, complaining about such enforcement and declaring they'll not return to Cape Charles. I personally wrote a letter of violation to the residential squatters on the north side of town and intervened on golf cart usage and parking. Chief Pruitt has some more information, so I defer to him on that.
First off, I'm melting here.
Pull it to you.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
The emails that come in, I'm going to rant here. Fuss here a few minutes because everybody thinks they can fuss at us, so I'm going to fuss back. Sending an email in for something that happened Friday, on Sunday or Monday morning. There's no need to get mad at the police. Phone, you got a phone, pick up and call, we'll be right there. Nobody in town as a police officer is Superman and is appearing on every corner whenever an infraction is going on. One person covering this town with the amount of people in here is unsafe for one, in my opinion, and unfair for the officer. So we are not at every corner 24 hours a day. If there's 2,000 people on the beach, I expect my officer to be up where the people are. If they're not on Randolph, if somebody went down there speeding, oh well, they're where all the people are. So, 4th of July, wrote a lot of parking tickets, 26 parking tickets for original. A lot of them were for parking in the median strip, can't do that. So, no need to complain.
learn how to walk the block. 13 traffic summons were issued for speeding. 5 summons were issued for golf carts. 1 was running a stop sign. 4 had children out of the seatbelt under 4 years of age. 1 DUI arrest. 1 hit and run arrest. 1 felony, 1 subject arrested. And over 40 hours of foot patrol covering beach and crowd during and after the fireworks. Plus everybody knows how hot it was. If you have negative comments about my officers, do not confront my officers. You come see me, I'm chief of police. That's my job to take your negative complaint about my officers. They work hard, they don't need to hear it. They sacrifice a lot to get out here for everybody. In the summer, hot, winter, cold, they leave their families for holidays, and they work for you all, for me. I've been doing this for 22 years and I have never seen a 4th of July with my family yet. And that's just the job I took, so I'm not complaining. That's the kind of people that you have working for you. We sacrifice for you. So I'm not about the negative comments. We also, I just want everybody, for everybody to have their thoughts and prayers. One of my officers left today for military one overseas. He left a wife and a 2-year-old daughter, so let's keep him in our thoughts and prayers, please. And safe return for us. Something from you?
Yeah, I have one quick question with you. I think it's a lot. Keep writing. The 5 golf cart situations, any dealings with children under 18 driving?
All right, no, it's okay.
16.
If they're close, I can't stop you until I think you're close to me. If you have a license or not. When my lights come on or their lights come on, you're being detained or violating your rights if we stop you for no reason. Now, if you're 8 years old and you're driving a golf cart, we stop you. We do not write that ticket because it's a juvenile ticket. You have to come back here. So if you're from New Jersey or North Carolina, I'd rather not make you come all the way back here to court for the judge to give you 2 hours of community service, 5 hours.
So how do you deal with
But
that?
we do follow the home.
All right, you do. Okay,
And
that's
we
what
talk
I
to
was
the parents.
Right.
And also we've had conversations with, I've had a conversation with Cape Charles Parks. And he goes over the rules and the laws before you rent a car. And he's told me, and I pass on to my guys, when you stop somebody driving a golf cart that's underage, that's pulling them back to his place and they will not get the golf cart back.
Yeah.
So we had a couple of that, and I think Larry spoke to
Yep. Excellent.
I'm ashamed.
Thanks, Mom. All right, good. Thank you.
Oh, Mayor, council comments. Andy, we'll start with you this week.
Let me start with me first. All right, actually, this is kind of a suggestion. Having with all these boards that we have any kind of formal training, what's expected of them? It's a question, or is it something we can basically ascertain or get? Because, and no offense to the historic review board, they're so new, the problem is they don't know all the procedures. And it's kind of hard on them to go through all this process. And I just think if we can get some, this will help them out or anybody else out. It's being put on the board for volunteering. And they understand what's expected of them, what kind of process, or how these meetings are supposed to be.
Yes, can I answer? For the planning commission, when I came back from...
Well, planning, you have to go away.
I know, no.
Yes.
No, you don't have to, but let me just tell you.
We
what
do, I went to
not mandatory. It's suggested, encouraged, whatever. All I'm saying is from that meeting, others had suggested expectations and what have you, and I drafted up for the planning commission new members, and it's right now this draft, one, a set of expectations, which included he will attend the class. And the second one, here are all, in a page and a half of reading that you are required to go through over a period of time, broken down by here's things, talk to the chairman, here are more things, talk to the chairman, until such time as you're fully versed with what you need. That was just an example that I was going to come up with that we would give to candidates before their interview.
Did you make it universal for all?
Well, yeah, I wanted to do one and then share it with others and say, hey, here's what I'm proposing.
Because I think it's going to greatly help out and probably alleviate a lot of some of the stuff.
Yeah, when I started listening to the planning commission, it's like, holy mackerel. Type more, you gotta read this, you gotta attend the class, you gotta do homework assignments, you gotta do.
You gotta do a certification.
Yes, you gotta read books and.
Correct. You need to take tests.
But candidates that come for interviews don't know that, and that's what I wanted to get this document in front of them, so that when they do say they want to go on board, they're gonna have to say, yes, I'm in agreement with doing that.
I just want to see if we get that across the rest. It's just an observation. I'm trying to through all these meetings and some of the stuff that's been happening, and I think could have been minimized if they had a greater idea of the whole thing. It's just something, it's just a trend. Good.
Just quick, Councilman, depends on the board. Planning commission is in the state code, so the requirements of the planning commission are pretty clear. There's also a state certified program out of Virginia Tech, right? The land decision.
Well, that's moved down to the BCU.
Down to the BCU.
Yeah, that's right.
The wetlands board actually has a handbook that the state puts out. So every member of the wetlands board takes a copy of that handbook. That handbook is also in the process of being rewritten anyway. Board of Zoning Appeals also established the state code, so as a result, those duties are, and how the process works are already lined up in the state code. HART doesn't, library board doesn't, historic history review board doesn't.
Usually the one that. All right.
Just report a concern, or are you going to follow up with each case? I am. The other thing I think was mentioned during the treasury report there, we scheduling a Carver follow-up for capital improvement plan. When we approved the budgets, we approved $120,000, I think it was. It said it's not earmarked for anything in specific until we get a plan back. And all I'm asking is when are we going to see that plan? Because already I am seeing in the consent agenda, things are in the works for certain capital improvements there. And I'd like to see what is the plan to spend that money.
Tom, yeah, I already read it before that.
Yes. That's all.
Thank you. I would tag along on that report of concern, and I'm sorry that it's taken line days to get an answer. I think that that's unacceptable also. On the beach issue, the beach management plan and the group, the harbor wetlands and coastal dune board spent a lot of time and did a lot of really heavy lifting work on that beach management plan. And evidently we have not communicated that very well, because part of that, the area that we're for this crosswalks was to be allowed to go over like that. So I would strongly urge us in some way, whether through staff or our communications tools and others, to express some of those things that came out of that beach management plan and why those things are like they are this summer. Because those aren't because we're just not done. They are intentionally not done. And that needs to be better communicated to the residents. And yes, I was alarmed, Diane, at your comment and very concerned about it. I wouldn't want anyone to feel uncomfortable walking on any sidewalk in our town anywhere. And so I would certainly agree with that, and anyone else who felt that way, that they had an unpleasant experience, is not acceptable in my opinion. We do need to double check about the library bathrooms. I mean, they're getting great use, was my comment. We got to step up the cleaning of that, so if you would check in on how they're doing that, or how it's scheduled, that would be great. And the last thing that I had, this a personal concern, was about the playground fence. My understanding, and Zach isn't here right now, so he can say that, my understanding is that that chain link or open mesh related pipe fences are not allowed. And under our general section. And it is kind of a vinyl-ish thing that looks like the same kind of fence that we find as you come up Plum Street right at the edge of the park, except that's probably an older chain link that's kind of rusted now. But it says none is allowed facing a public street. Well, it's not exactly facing a public street, but it's not the kind of fence I was expecting there. So I just asked some of the staff to contact me sometime later, help me explain to me why that's allowed. Okay. That's all.
I would comment on the last comment. I think it kind of blends in with the same things. And it ties it right to it, right?
The tennis courts fence are, that's been here since 1990. I think we're going to replace it with
I mean, that's just my observation. So I know what you're saying.
I get your point.
For me, it looked, I was like, wow, this is nice.
Will you let citizens use that fence? That's my question.
In the back like we do.
In the back we would.
Correct.
In the back we would. That's like very common.
A couple of things for me. I guess one, I bend over, everybody has a hard time hearing me. I don't know, 38 packs cutting the wind off, or why down here, but it's just, I'm sorry. We look at some clips.
We'll talk about that later, information that I found out about the library.
Something to clip here, so I don't have to worry about bending over this pipe. You know that?
Just hope I don't come to the meeting, Cindy, is all you need.
You're sitting up front.
I know.
Something else I would like for council to possibly start discussing is expanding our water and sewer out to these new developments that's coming on Kitchener Road. I mean, we require everybody in town to actually hook up to water and sewer, and that is in time limits. So I think that's something that you guys need to be looking at about. And I would like to see that for some discussion sometime in the future.
We had a pretty extensive discussion the last cycle of council.
Well, my thought is, if we require everybody in town to hook up on water sewer, that's within the time boundary, they need to be required to hook up to it too. It's just my thought on it.
Taking all that to the king.
Whether it's 2 miles outside of the rest of the time or not, it's still part of Cape Charles. And around on Cape Charles Street as well.
Yeah, Cape Charles.
That is part of us.
Food lines, huh?
No, that's not, but the new buildings going in on Cape Charles Road is.
Emmanuel's?
Yeah.
That's what I talked about earlier. Technical problem too, potentially something.
We need to start thinking about getting that out there.
That's a good capital project for feeding in December or January.
Other than that, my 2 cents. Announcements. August 1st, town council special meeting. August 15th, town council regular meeting. I get a motion to recess to close. We go to recess.
So, second.
All in favor? Opposed? We're in recess.